Good morning, Happy Valley, and welcome back to another edition of the Penn State 365 podcast. I'm your host, as always, Richie O'Leary, and joined on our weekly segments, talking wrestling again with our co-host, Joey Klender. Joey, I guess let me just get your initial thoughts heading into this one. Penn State's probably the strong favorite to win it all as a team title, and they're probably going to be a favorite in a couple different weight classes.
Yeah, obviously the team race is kind of even what I've seen betting odds of sports books that are carrying it's pretty much a pointless bet. But yeah, it seems like Penn State could have anywhere from like 4 to 6 national champs this year. More if things go amazingly well, but I think on the conservative side we'll see at least 3. I think the sure things are Starachi, Brooks, and Kirk. But of course, there's also Bartlett, there's Haynes, there's Mesenbrink, there's quite a few. So, it's going to be an interesting tournament, obviously. I think this could be one of the more dominant team performances in recent memory. But even from an individual standpoint, Penn State's got a lot of potential to do some pretty crazy things this tournament. So it should be interesting.
Yeah, let's start off with one of arguably the crazier weights. It's 125 pounds. Braden Davis is the top seed heading into this one, but there's going to be a ton of competition because although he did win Big Tens, he wasn't the number 1 seed at Big Ten. So now got Ramos still there, Ayala, Iowa, Lehigh, Stanich. But how do you think this one kind of plays out?
Davis is a pretty tough road to the finals because Dean Peterson, the 16 seed from Rutgers, he would hit tonight if he wins his first round match, if they both win their first round matches. So Peterson beat, I believe, Ramos the first or second round of Big Tens, and it was pretty shocking. But yeah, I mean, this weight has literally 8 guys that could win it, and Davis getting the number 1 seed is pretty crazy considering, we've talked about it a million times. We really didn't know what was going to happen at 25 in terms of what Penn State was going to bring this year, and then somehow they end up with the 1 seed. So but there's a lot of guys in this lineup, or there's a lot of guys in this bracket that have, an opportunity to win it. There's a lot of guys outside the top 10 seeds that, could pull something off. 25 is probably the craziest weight I've seen since I've been religiously watching college wrestling. 13 years ago is when I started. So, this one's crazy. I really don't know what's going to happen. It could be Davis winning it. It could be, it might end up going true to seed for the most part. But, I mean, it's just crazy to think about how many potential winners there are at this weight. I mean, it's really anybody's guess.
Now, do we think at least Davis will at the very least be an All-American when it's all said and done?
Yeah, I think he's definitely in the top 8 of this weight class in the country. So I don't have an issue kind of, I wouldn't put the house on it. I'm not that confident. But, Davis is a really good kid. And, I think he's kind of peaking at the right time. I think the Big Ten tournament was, if he didn't have a coming out party during the year, it was Big Tens. So, I mean, beating McKee was big, and beating DiAugustino for a second time was big. So, he's definitely got the potential to win it, of course. But, I mean, I would think that he at least, gets 4th or better.
Gotcha. Let's go on to the next one, 133 pounds. Aaron Nagau's the number 10 seed. Where do we kind of see him fitting into this one? Because this one's kind of a little bit wide open, too. I know Fix is the top guy from Oklahoma State, but I know a lot of people have been talking about the kid from Cornell, too.
Yeah, well, Vito's, returning national champion, so it's pretty crazy that he's the 6th seed coming in. I picked Crookham to win this weight just because, he's undefeated. I think he could have arguably been the 1 seed. He's beaten Vito twice this year. I think a lot of people were kind of skeptical that his win over Vito early in the year was anything more than just, dumb luck or whatever. But Then he had him in the EIWA finals and won. And Crookham's a really really tough kid. He beat Nagao early in the year, and Aaron really couldn't get to his offense in that match. Crookham really neutralized everything. He's really really great strong wrestler. So I think Crookham wins this weight. Nagao, it's tough because he's got a decent draw here. It's nice that he wouldn't hit Crookham until the quarters, and he wouldn't hit Vito till the semis. So that's okay. He's just gonna have to catch fire a little bit and upset some kids. And not saying that he's not capable. I just think that from what we've seen, he obviously looked great at Big Tens as well. So there's potential that he, might pull something off. Anything can happen in the tournament. So
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of if he can get to his attacks, if he can finish, and if he wrestles like he did at Big Tens, he can beat anybody in the country. So, but from an unbiased perspective, I like Crookham at this weight.
Okay, interesting. Next up, 141 pounds. Bo Bartlett's coming in as the second seed. Now, he did beat Mendez in dual meet season, but then he did lose to him in the Big Ten finals, finishing second. He finished third last year in NCAAs. Where do we kind of see him sliding? Can he pull this off?
Absolutely. He didn't beat Mendez at the Big Ten finals because he didn't shoot. Never got to an attack. It was one of the more frustrating matches I've watched him wrestle all year. And, I've talked a lot this year about how he has kind of been hesitant to attack in some matches, and I'm not sure what that's about, but I don't think he makes the same mistake twice if he gets to the finals against Mendez. With that being said, he's on a collision course to meet Real Woods in the semis, and I think Real Woods has kind of had a pretty underwhelming year, but he's definitely capable of pulling some things off late in the season, and could make some noise. So definitely have to be cognizant of that. There's a lot of really good guys at this weight that can potentially make things interesting. You have to always watch out for Brock Hardy from Nebraska, and there's quite a few guys that can win it here, but I did pick Bo to win this weight. I think he is the best guy in the country at this weight. I think that that one overtime loss at Big Tens against Mendez, I don't think that necessarily takes him off the pedestal at this weight. I think he still is the best guy in the country at 41. So I'm going to take him. You have to be worried if he kind of stops trusting his offense. And I guess the first few matches will kind of give us an indication of what he's going to wrestle like throughout this tournament, because the first couple rounds, if it's kind of close matches, it's not really a great sign, because Bo wrestles really well when he is offensive. So we'll hope for it.
Awesome. Now, I know, being that you're predicting him to win it, he's obviously an All-American. I didn't ask you about Aaron Nagao. Do you think he makes All-American status, or do you think it's kind of like pushing it a little close?
No, I think he will. I think he'll probably be in the 5th place match, I would say. I still I'm always a little bit concerned about his ability to finish attacks. It's not necessarily getting to the attacks, because he has a really great low single, but just kind of gets himself into scrambles a little too often. And I see him All-American. I see him being an All-American, of course, but I think I'm gonna say he's gonna be in that 5th place match on Saturday morning.
Gotcha. So 3 weight classes, 1 champ, 3 All-Americans. Can't really beat that so far. 149 pounds, freshman Tyler Kasich is coming in as the 7th seed. This one's another interesting bracket, because you got a lot of Big Ten guys and a lot of outside the conference as well that could make a little bit of a run.
Yeah, absolutely. Kasich wrestled really well at Big Tens as well. He took 3rd. Pinned Ethan Miller in the 3rd place match, and just really looked great. I don't think, Kasich's kind of been a real testament to how deep this lineup is. Van Ness gets hurt, and everybody's kind of concerned of how that's going to affect the team race and, all those other things. But, I mean, he's more than stepped up. He's more than done his job. Coming into the national tournament as a 7th seed is pretty incredible for, a backup, and we've talked and kind of speculated about how that could make things interesting for the lineup next year. But yeah, there's quite a few guys at this weight that can make some noise. I did pick Lovett. I think Lovett is just the best guy at this weight. I know he dropped. I believe he lost to Rathjen. If my memory serves me correct, I feel like he lost against Iowa. I feel like that was his one slip up this year.
See if I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, I am having trouble finding everything today.
Let's see. No, he beat Rathjen 6-0. It was Parco. Okay, so it was a 2 seed.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I still think Lovett's the guy at this weight. He's just been phenomenal all year.
Mm-hmm.
He's super solid. I don't think you can really go wrong with pretty much any pick here. But yeah, I do see Kasich being an All-American. Yeah,
that was going to be
absolutely.
My next question.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go bold here, and I think he gets third.
Okay, that's hey, you can't really complain there for a freshman.
I think he'll do all right.
Especially, I don't know if anyone really saw that coming into the season. So
right.
157 pounds. Levi Haynes coming in as the number 1 seed, back-to-back Big Ten champ, All-American a year ago. I think he finished second last year. Mm-hmm. Do we see him even getting any competition really? Because I know there's a couple guys like the kid out of Arizona State, and then there's the kid out of Cornell that might put up a little bit of a fight.
Mm-hmm. So Haynes has a really interesting bracket. 57's a pretty deep weight class, especially when you consider he had a really tight match against Chase Saldate of Michigan State and really kind of got away with one there, who was the 24 seed. Haynes needed a really late reversal to win that match. Super tough match. Then he has Will Lewan also. Lewan's actually wrestling Saldate the first round, so we'll find out who he's going to probably wrestle in the quarters, around that time. But then you also have Peyton Robb on that side of the bracket. Teamer's down the bottom, Franic's down the bottom. I don't think he really has too much of an issue with Franic. Teamer obviously presents a good challenge, but Ed Scott from NC State is really good. He won the ACC last week or 2 weekends ago. And then Meyer Shapiro out of Cornell, who has been, kind of like the freshman phenom. Bryce Andonian is a super funky wrestler who Haynes had a lot of trouble with last year. I believe it was in the quarters. And Haynes had to really come back, and he ended up pinning Andonian. But Andonian's super funky. He's never been in a boring match in his life, that's for sure. But there's a lot of guys that are super interesting matchups and everything. So, but I think that the most interesting thing is going to be that bottom half of the bracket, the semifinal there. If it's Teamer and Shapiro and it's 2 and 3, mm-hmm. Levi's going to have a tough match in the finals regardless. But he's gonna be he's gonna know he's in a wrestling match quite a few times this tournament. It's not. I don't think it's gonna be a walk in the park at any point. He's gonna have a couple maulings. I believe his first match will be probably a major attack, maybe a pin. But there's quite a few guys here that are interesting. Lewan's always kind of a weird one because he just doesn't shoot. It's not offensive. He's boring as hell, but he took Levi to overtime because, it was just he was able to neutralize everything. And so you get into close matches like that at nationals, weird things happen, and you just got to be careful. So I do have Haynes winning this weight, obviously. Mm-hmm. But there's a lot of guys in here to watch out for. So it's going to be a fun weight.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So just to clarify, through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weight classes so far, everyone's an All-American and 2 champs, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
Bowen. Yep, Bowen.
165 pounds, number 2 seeded, Mitch Messenbrink, the redshirt freshman's had a pretty damn good year. Fresh off a Big Ten title. Is he kind of favored at least to make the finals, I would assume, right? If
Yeah.
not to win it all.
I have him. I do have Mitch in the finals, and the way they seeded this was pretty interesting, putting O'Toole and Carl on the same side of the bracket. So, I was really kind of hoping to see Mitch wrestle Carr in the semis and then get O'Toole in the finals, but it is what it is. The other thing is Hamidi's at the top half of the bracket, so Mitch gets to avoid him. Obviously, he did beat Hamidi, and probably one of the better comebacks of the year at the Big Ten finals. But, I think the thing with Mitch is obviously he's, super offensive. He doesn't stop shooting. I think that's what everybody loves about him. But, you don't want him having 3 matches leading up to the semis where he's, in these long, grueling 7-minute wars against the best kids in the country, and then he has to wrestle, O'Toole in the finals or Carr in the finals, whoever wins. So yeah, I just can't go against O'Toole at this weight right now.
Yeah.
He put a clinic on against Carr in the Big 12 finals, so I took O'Toole at this weight. I think Mitch is going to make the finals. I just don't see him getting by O'Toole right now. I think, it's tough because I really want to pick him. I really do think that he's capable of beating O'Toole. I just think O'Toole's so solid right now. I don't know if anybody's going to beat him this go around. So I took O'Toole, and I'm kind of. I do want Mitch to win, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough.
Yeah, it seems like O'Toole's got to be the heavy favorite, at least. Being a 2-time champ and all that would definitely helps.
Right.
But next up, 174 pounds. Now, this one's interesting because Starachi obviously didn't wrestle at Big Tens. He comes in as a 9 seed. A little bit of trash talk already, which you kind of love to see because he's like, put me up against the entire bracket if you want.
Right.
But this bracket's an interesting one for the sole fact of where they seeded everyone. But you got to think Carter could still, as long as healthy, Carter should be able to pretty easily go through this bracket.
Yeah, I mean, the way they seeded 74 is probably the biggest atrocity in the history of college wrestling. You have 3 national champions in the top half of the bracket. You have Mekhi Lewis, you have Carter, and then you have Shane Griffith. All in the top half. I believe the bottom half has 1 All-American in it. It's just brutal. So, fortunate thing for us is the national finals will be on Friday morning when Mekhi Lewis wrestles Carter Starachi. So we get a finals match early, but I'm never picking against Starachi at this weight, even if he is maybe dealing with a little something with that knee, which I think we're kind of to the point where, I'm not sure if it's that much of a concern. I don't really know. And, they're super tight-lipped about it. Obviously, we have the Big Ten controversy and everything, but, the way he's talking, I wouldn't bet against him. So
now I want to pick your brain a little bit with this one, at least, just because there are, like you said, there's 3 former national champs in this one. Who do you think finished like a second, third? Because like you said, Mekhi Lewis is the top seed, Griffith's right there, Devos out of South Dakota, Ruth, Illinois.
Right.
Like, a lot of dudes here.
So the interesting thing about this bracket is, of the 3 national champions in the top half of the bracket, all 3 have dealt with some kind of serious injury. Lewis had the shoulder, I believe, for the last couple of years and kind of didn't really look like himself early this year, but he wrestled Carter at the All-Star match and Carter smoked him. Then you got Carter with his knee, and then you got Griffith, who defaulted out of the Big Ten finals and Ruth won. So it's going to be interesting to see if all 3 of them can make it through this tournament healthy and avoid any sort of long-term anything that would knock them out.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think Edmund Ruth. I think he's going to have a good tournament. I think he's really going to do well. I'm going to go bold here, and I don't think Griffith. This is kind of crazy, but I don't know if Griffith's going to All-American. I think he's kind of been a little. He's obviously had a good year, 14-3. The neck, I think it was a neck or an ankle or something. I can't remember. I can't remember if it was neck or ankle. I feel like I remember reading that his neck was screwed up, but whatever he's dealing with, I'm not. I watched him run off the mat after his semifinal match, and he looked like he was in some serious crap. I mean, I don't even know the extent of his injury, but he did not look good. I mean, he looked like he was in some serious shit. So, yeah, this is kind of a weird bracket because you have to deal with those injuries, and then just the seeding is weird. And I'm picking Carter to win. I think Mackay probably ends up getting third. I think he'll lose to Carter, and then he'll win. He'll win out. Yeah, that's my guess.
Okay, interesting one.
Yeah.
So another another NCAA champ, almost Big Ten champ. It's completely different. But anyway, 184 pounds, number 6 seed, Bernie Truax. Kind of a weird thing. Like, where do you think he ends up going? Because I know there's Salazar, there's Plott from Oklahoma State, who he's probably going to face in the quarters if I'm looking at this correct.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he's got a tough little road for him. Yeah,
for sure. Bernie had a really good Big Ten too, and he went into overtime with Salazar, and Salazar just took him down. And Bernie was, I believe, in outside or like a sweep single, and just got countered if I remember correctly. But I picked Salazar to win 84. Even though Kakaisen has had like a really outstanding year. Salazar was super impressive. He's got really great takedown defense, and but Bernie, he's obviously going to have to hit a couple. He's going to have to wrestle above his seat a little bit in order to make the semis because he's got Plott to deal with, like you said, in the quarters. So, but there's a lot of interesting matches here. Bernie's had a pretty solid year, but he's had a couple kind of like slip ups. Rogotsky against the match against Rogotsky from Ohio State was one. He looked really excellent in that match and just got caught and pinned. So yeah, this one's pretty. I would put it between Kakaisen and Salazar to win this thing, but I actually think that Trey Munoz could make some noise here too. He's super impressive. He's excellent. He made a little bit of a run last year, I believe, and he's kind of like my dark horse. But then there's another person you have to look out for is Lenny Pinto, who's had a really outstanding year. He's kind of an outside chance to win it, but he could pull something off in the quarters. Actually, he would hit Kakaisen in the semis. Munoz in the quarters. So yeah, I mean, quite a few guys here that fun. It's a fun bracket, fun weight.
Mm-hmm. Next up, 197 pounds. Aaron Brooks comes in as the top seed. Is there any real competition other than Hilday at NC State? Hilday? I don't even know.
Hidley, yeah, Hidley.
Hidley. Oh, I did spell that wrong. That makes sense.
Yeah, Hidley's going to be, Hidley's super good match for Brooks. Brooks has wrestled super well this year, and he's my Hodge winner if he wins this tournament. I think he's been the most dominant wrestler in college this year, and I think that the only guy that really gives him a match is Hidley. I think Hidley's definitely dangerous. He could spoil a party for sure, but I'm just really having a hard time seeing anybody beat Brooks. Even if Hidley's on the top of his game, I think Brooks is just a better wrestler.
Mm-hmm. Well,
but
the nice thing here is it could be the finals matchup, or it should be the finals matchup at least.
Right, 100%. Yeah, I 100% think that it's going to be Brooks and Hidlay, and I think it's going to be a really good match. I think Hidlay's going to bring everything he's got, and I think it's going to be a very tough match for Aaron, but I think he does win this weight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, last but not least, I saw your tweet, so I'm kind of cheating on this one. I mean, it's the number one seed, Kirk. He's been number one all season long, hasn't lost, Big Ten champ, blah, 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 all that other stuff. Does he have any comp here? Because it seems like he's just far and away the best heavyweight this year.
Yeah, Bastida from Iowa State, he's kind of got a few people behind him thinking that he could pull it off. And I just haven't seen anybody that's been on Kirk's level this year in terms of power, speed, strength, athleticism, and just technique. I think he's the best heavyweight in the country, and I don't think it's close. I mean, the Wyatt Hendrickson All-Star match, I hate to keep bringing up All-Star matches because they're exhibition, but I mean, that was a clinic, an absolute clinic. He's wrestled Feldman twice and really put a beating on him twice. I'm having trouble looking at any sort of challenge for Kirk at this weight. And, I picked him early this year to win, and he deserves it more than anybody because he's just been met with these freaking animals for the last 2 years. And I just think it's his time. I think he wins it. So I put another one on there.
Gotta love that. So just to recap real quick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 champs, but everyone will finish as an All-American. With some other guys having a chance at it between Mitch, what was the other one? Braden Davis.
Yeah.
Truax, probably not, but you never know, I guess.
Yeah. I think anything's possible, but I think the conservative, like I said at the beginning of the pod, I think conservative is 3. I think you could argue that they could have 7 if in a perfect world, and I think at least 9. I think anything less than 9 All-Americans would almost be a disappointment for this lineup, which is pretty insane.
Yeah, no, for sure. That would more than likely probably secure the 3rd consecutive team title. So, yeah, I mean, this is just, I think, high expectations once again this season, and it seems like they're probably going to meet those expectations once again.
Right, 100%.
I guess that's really it. Any final thoughts before we sign off? I know this tournament's getting started in, a couple hours now, so.
Yeah, it starts at noon. The only thing I have to say is be sure to tune in, and my dog's all excited, obviously.
Yeah, there you go.
Be sure to tune in, and this is like March Madness. Anything can happen, and there's a lot of fun upsets. There's always a couple good stories every year of kids that weren't really given too much of a chance, and they end up making some noise. So, there's a lot of great things to watch.
That's fine. We'll wrap it up with that one.
Yeah.
All right, Joe, I appreciate it. I'm sure we'll have you on again shortly after the tournament's done to recap everything.
Absolutely.
But
for sure.
For me and Joey, that's another episode. Me and Joey's dog. This is another episode of the Penn State 365 podcast. Signing off.